I don't regret or feel a great deal of remorse about any of that. I think that the media, traditional media, has all too often used its bully pulpit, I'm getting tongue-tied here. There has used its position to dictate rather than communicate, and I'm glad to see that dictatorial aspect of the media passing away. It doesn't break my heart a lot at all. I come from the newspaper world. There was a time when 10 to 20 daily newspapers in this country essentially dictated the news agenda on a daily basis. It's now down to 2 or 3, and they're on life support. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the same thing is true of the studio system and the motion picture studios, who before the independent film revolution called the shots on everything that anybody saw at any theater in the United States and abroad. And it certainly was true of pop music, which was controlled by a half-dozen global pop music entities. And all of those things are gone or going. The same thing is now happening to the publishing business. And I think that what we are seeing is a democratization that's been forced on these economic behemoths by the digital world. And I, for one, am not bothered by that in the least.
Are we confronting the end of long-form journalism?
No, not at all. In fact, I think there's a rebirth in the offing. I mean, that's just my opinion, but and maybe I'm just hoping for it. I don't know, but heck, here we are talking on what will eventually wind up on a blog that's on the internet, and arguably our little Q&A here is a form of is long-form journalism. Does that? I mean, I assume that you have more than 2 or 3 readers, so that's proof in and of itself that long-form journalism is not dead, and in fact, I think maybe in a re-emerging in a new form that is going to be accessible to anybody who wants to see it without the interference of somebody who doesn't produce anything creatively, but certainly has his or her hand in the cookie jar as a, quote, distributor or publisher or music A&R director, development director. I mean, these people don't contribute anything to creativity, but they're certainly there to take their cut whenever it comes time to distribute it to a larger audience. And I think that it doesn't sadden me at all that they're being cut out of it entirely.
What did you find interesting about reactions to your book, 5 Easy Decades, on Jack Nicholson?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Yeah, what did you find interesting about reactions to your book, 5 Easy Decades?
Oh, well, generally speaking, I was gratified. I mean, I got uh, there were 2 or 3 snarky reviews, but for the most part, it landed on a couple of end of the year best book lists, and it has since been translated into Spanish and Portuguese, and something of a bestseller in beautiful downtown Madrid. Go figure. I mean, generally speaking, the response I got was pretty positive. I'm proud of it. I think that it still stands as the definitive Jack Nicholson biography to date. I don't know. Maybe maybe Jack's out there planning to do his own confessional, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
How did you come to write The Candlestickmaker?
Well, The Candlestickmaker is obviously a labor of love. It's based in part on my own experiences during the Vietnam War, but it's fictive to the degree that it's that although a good many of the characters are based on real people, the concept that the government may have been dosing its soldiers and sailors with psychedelics and using them as guinea pigs for drugs is it's based on some fact, but I've taken it a step further. I think that again, I'm as proud of it in its own way as I am of 5 Easy Decades, because I think it's a story that hasn't been told. I mean, there's been lots of Vietnam novels, but they're all about combat, and they're all about Marines and being, swaggering and tough and fighting the good fight out in the wilds of the Laotian frontier or Da Nang or whatever. And, there's a whole part of that war that has been completely ignored. There were thousands and thousands of sailors who participated in that war, and you read nothing about them. And the Candlestickmaker attempts to remedy that, or to close up that big hole in historical fiction. And I think that I think the book also tells something of a sobering story regarding the use and misuse of drugs in that war. I mean, I think Vietnam was arguably our first almost totally medicated foreign conflict. And I would, submit to you that it didn't end with the armistice between the U.S. and Vietnam in '75. I think that, drugs and warfare in the latter half of the 20th and the earliest portions of the 21st century go hand in hand. I don't think anybody goes out there on the frontiers of Afghanistan